is now. We're going to show you the steps that you can take today to help protect you and your family and your property. Plus, severe storms are also ripping across the upper Midwest right now. See the spots where damaging winds and large hail will have you hunkering down tonight. It's all coming up next.
Well, a lot to cover for you tonight right here on Weather Underground. Breaking news with the latest advisory. Hurricane warnings, storm surge warnings now in effect for portions of the Northeast. Thanks for being with us. I'm Mike Bettis.
And I'm Jackie Jarrett. So we want to get right to our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb, the former director of the National Hurricane Center. And Dr. Knabb, a lot of changes and updates with this advisory.
Yeah, and mainly because we're getting closer and closer to the beginning of the event on Sunday morning, mainly in New England. So now we are just a day and a half away, so it's warning time. Now, Henri is not a hurricane just yet, but that is still a very high likelihood, and that will happen overnight tonight or tomorrow. 70-mile-an-hour tropical storm, and it's moving north-northwest at 7, so you can see it is making that turn. And the pressure's at 994. That's a pretty low pressure for a tropical storm. So it's poised to strengthen. And here's the new track and intensity forecast. Here it is in 24 hours over the very warm waters of the Gulf Stream. Forecast to be an 85-mile-an-hour hurricane, of course, plus or minus. I'm a little concerned about the possibility of somewhere along the line here it intensifying a little more rapidly than forecast. So we got to account for that possibility. Don't rule out that it gets near or at Cat 2. That's at least something to look out for. Now, it will weaken before coming ashore, but now the latest forecast, which is 48 hours from now, from where the center is forecast to be, is very near the coastline of southern New England as a hurricane. Now, again, that doesn't guarantee it comes ashore as a hurricane, but that's what the forecast is, and then it will slow down and weaken and grow in size. Here is the arrival time expected for winds of tropical storm force. So now we're getting to be roughly a day and a half away. That's when they issue the warnings, about 36 hours before the first arrival of winds of tropical storm force. That means tonight and tomorrow are prep time. And what I just showed you is when the tropical storm force winds will arrive. But now we are expecting, based on the latest forecast, hurricane force winds somewhere in this hurricane warning area, which is about the eastern two-thirds of Long Island and up on the coastline of Connecticut there. We also have tropical storm warning off to the west of there, and you got the hurricane watch that extends inland a little bit from the warning and goes all the way out to Cape Cod and the islands. New York City now under a tropical storm watch. So this is an expansion and an upgrade to a lot of the watches and warnings for the wind hazard. Now, with the water hazard, storm surge warning is now in effect for the danger of life-threatening storm surge getting into much of Long Island and on the south shore of Long Island, getting into Long Island Sound, and then on the south shore of Long Island, about the eastern half of it under the storm surge warning. That goes all the way over to Nantucket, the south-facing area of Cape Cod, and the Cape itself under a storm surge watch. The storm surge watch goes not quite all the way over to New York City, just east of LaGuardia. So you need to be getting out of these coastal areas according to instructions from local officials. Here's a look at the tropical storm. And yes, it still is a little bit sheared, but the storm is starting to breathe a little more. See those cirrus clouds starting to fan out a little more effectively to the north, but the center of circulation is still on the northern side of the convection. So it's still a little bit sheared from north to south, but the overall cloud pattern is getting healthier, unfortunately. And look how close it is to the east coast of the U.S. now in the southeast. It's sending the swells there. So we got the moderate to high risk of rip currents along the coast. And it's begun to make that turn to the north because this trough, look at that low in the middle upper levels of the atmosphere. That's cutting off over the mid-Atlantic and northeast. That's what's bringing it to the north. So there's no doubt about it that it is coming to the north. And so again, this track has shifted a little bit farther to the west, greatly increasing the chances of landfall of the center right near the tropical storm hurricane threshold. But again, look at that slow motion. There's Sunday afternoon. Here's early Monday morning. Here's Monday afternoon. My goodness, that's a slow motion that lengthens the duration of the winds, increases the damaging potential of those winds, lengthens the duration of the storm surge and waves, and of course, Mike and Jackie, greatly increases the risk of significant rain-induced inland flooding. So we got a day and a half to get ready. We're going to get everybody prepped for the wind and water, coastal and inland.
Also brings those bigger impacts into some of those more populated cities. Now, people on the northeast coast, not necessarily accustomed to preparing for a hurricane tonight. Now they're under hurricane watches and hurricane warnings as Henri makes the turn up towards the north. The Weather Channel's Mike Seidel is live in West Dennis, Massachusetts. And with this more westerly track now, Mike, that's a little bit better with not a direct hit for the Cape. But that said, you're still on the dirty side of the storm.
Yeah, we're still going to have impacts here, but as the track has been shifting west, I talked to folks at the restaurants and here at the hotel, and they're not complaining. But remember, when you shift the track left to right, you take people out of the higher threat zone and put people into the higher threat zone. So now we're thinking we're not going to get a direct hit here on the Cape. But let me show you the track once again, and we can show you this all night long because that's what you want to see, the cone and the track. Remember, the cone widens out over time because statistically we have that error that increases over time. But notice, if you look closely, Cape Cod is not in the cone, but don't read anything into that. We're all under hurricane watches on the Cape, all the way to the coastal areas of Rhode Island. So this whole Cape, North Shore, South Shore, out to Provincetown on the Arm, under a hurricane watch and a storm surge watch. Now, out here, we're expecting a surge of up to 3 to 5 feet because, as Jackie said, we're on the dirty side of the storm. The wind's going to be pushing the water in. We'll get some break here for Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket on the wave action, but still, a surge of 3 to 5 feet is nothing to say, hey, that's not much. No, that's a lot of surge here on Cape Cod. Also some rain, and the winds right now expected to max out about 25 to 30 miles an hour based on the current track. We could have some higher gusts, but with a storm that far away. Meanwhile, today, look at the beaches. Boy, what a beautiful day out here at West Dennis, across the Cape. Thousands. This is high season. The Cape is packed with people, and trust me, they're everywhere. The restaurants are packed. Didn't talk to anybody that's leaving at this point, but the hotels are telling us that some folks that were planning to check in Sunday are not checking in on Sunday. So, Dr. Nab, a better forecast for the Cape, not so good as you get to the west, and we've got the models. And it would seem that the European went towards the GFS today, farther west, because the European all along had been farther east.
Yeah, I mean, what we got to do from this point forward is focus on what impacts are going to occur where. It gets less and less important, the details of the track forecast, and more important, who's under what watch and warning. And we've got hurricane watches all the way out to the Cape. We've got storm surge watches and warnings all the way out to the Cape. So we got some bad weather, dangerous, maybe life-threatening weather if we're not careful to get ready all the way out to the Cape there. So again, here's that new track and intensity forecast, and let's take a look at the models. This cone is simply a representation based on past average airs of where the center of circulation is probably going to go. And it does convey a lot of important things: the strengthening, the slow down, the slow motion, and the eventual exit to the right, but not until Tuesday or Wednesday, and that bend to the left. And it shifted a little bit to the left. But let's take a look at the models again. Here's, that trough that's bringing it north, and that big ridge that will stop it from exiting as it gets caught in that trough. So here is the latest GFS, and you can see how it has that bend to the left toward the coastline because it gets caught in the trough, stopped by the ridge. There's just not a steering current to get it out of here. So that's Sunday. And look at Monday. It hasn't made very much headway at all. Not until Tuesday does it noticeably start to move off to the east. So where it comes ashore is really important. How long it stays in that general area of New England is also very important. So here's the GFS model track. Here are the ensembles. So there are still possibilities of where the center goes that go from New York City to Cape Cod. So don't rule out landfall or the center passing over any of those locations anywhere in between. Now here's the GFS sea level pressure pattern. You notice how large the system is as it after it comes ashore. It will be affecting a large area, so you don't have to be near the center to get bad winds, bad storm surge and waves, and heavy rainfall. That slow motion is really going to add up the rainfall. We'll be talking about that Tuesday. Things finally clear out. Let's take a look at the euro, and there is general agreement in terms of generally where it comes ashore. confidence in landfall has become very, very high. But also look at that slow motion Sunday and Monday. Look how far inland the low-level spin goes in the Euro. So interior New England could be getting a lot of impacts on this. And look at it Tuesday. It has spent 2 days near or over New England after landfall in that Euro model because of that slow motion. And when we look at the Euro ensembles, it is concerning that so many of them, whoops, let me go back and see if that'll show for me. It's going to display, but right now it has that same kind of spread, New York City to Cape Cod. So, Jackie, we can't take the center of the cone to the bank as where it's going to go, but the size and the slow motion means a lot of New England are going to be experiencing bad impacts regardless of the details of the track.
All right, so let's break down some of these impacts, and let's start out with the wind. The wind field is expected to be expanding, actually, upon approach, which is not good news, Dr. Knapp.
No.
We've got New York City now in a tropical storm watch. Lots of folks could potentially be without power.
Yeah, and this expansion of the wind field that you're talking about is not shown at all on the cone. That doesn't convey it at all. So this is just, again, where the center of circulation is going to go. And it is important, how strong it gets down here will determine, how strong it is up in here. So a stronger hurricane before it crosses the north wall of the Gulf Stream means a stronger storm or hurricane when it makes landfall and sits over New England. So that the next couple of days, I'm really concerned about the possibility of more rapid intensification than what is shown here while it's over those warm waters. Now, because of the expectation that it's going to still be a hurricane when it gets up here into New England, that's why the hurricane warning is up. But look at how far inland and to the east the hurricane watch goes, all the way out to the Cape. So I know you're thinking on the Cape that shift in the track might be good news, but not necessarily. I mean, you're going to be on the right-hand side, the stronger onshore flow side of the storm. So you are still at risk of hurricane conditions all the way out there, and now tropical storm watch all the way over into New York City. Not just because of the expanding size, but because of the meandering motion of the storm once it gets up here into New England. So you take all that into account. Look at how high the chances are. I'm going to draw the line where the greater than 50-50 shot of tropical storm force winds is. That is a big chunk of real estate and a lot of people, and farther interior, your chances are far from zero. So this means a big area that could experience trees coming down, power outages, and making it very, very dangerous to be outside or on the roads. And those winds start Sunday morning. And in addition to tropical storm force winds, a decent chance of hurricane force winds. Look at all these areas, non-zero chance of hurricane force winds. So we have tonight and tomorrow to prepare for the winds, for the power outage. Mike, some key things to be keeping in mind for the power outages, including not lighting candles, not using the generators indoors, and helping out the elderly who might need life-sustaining medical equipment.
All right, Dr. Knapp, thank you so much for that. So certainly surviving the storm is going to be a very big issue for us, that's for sure. So when you're preparing for the wind, what exactly are you looking for here? For a lot of you, you need to make sure that you're doing everything right to protect yourself from that wind and to sustain yourself for that wind. So what you can do is cover your windows with shutters or plywood. Do not tape those windows, okay? That's not going to do you any good. In fact, you could make the glass pieces even bigger. Shelter like you would for a tornado, for instance, okay? And then don't stay in a mobile home or in an unsafe structure. So maybe you're camping in a tent or maybe a trailer or a motorhome, something like that. You want to find safer shelter than that. Don't stay on upper floors of a high-rise because the wind is getting much stronger. The higher up you go with less friction. Consider leaving any unsafe structure, again, like I mentioned, mobile home, any temporary structure, and go find a sturdy structure inland, and preferably away from trees. That would be beneficial, that's for sure. All right, there are a lot of places that can be affected by water as well, another big factor that comes along with this storm. So Henri could be taking aim at places like Atlantic City. Certainly we could have some big swells here. Dr. Knapp, swells, storm surge, rip currents, lay it all out for us when it comes to the water.
Yeah, we can't just focus on the wind, can we? That's logical, especially because the advisories have the max sustained winds, the intensity, the category, the watches, the warnings, all that stuff. But we also got to realize that a storm that is going to be in this vicinity, in this area of complex coastline, it is impossible to avoid a significant storm surge event. And even outside, all the way through the weekend, I would be thinking of high risk of rip currents at the beaches, even if you're not in the cone. Here's the storm surge warning. These are the areas for the danger of life-threatening storm surge, the possibility all the way up to the Cape. You got to evacuate or get out as told by local officials. And look at how high the storm surge could be in the south-facing portions of New England, especially these bays that can catch the water, and there will be big-time waves on top of that. Get out of the water areas if your local officials tell you to go.
This program brought to you by Golden Corral, the only one for everyone.
Visible is wireless that doesn't play games. It's powered by Verizon for as little as $25 a month, but it gets crazier. Bring a friend every month and get every month for $5. Boom. 12 months of $5 wireless. Visible. Wireless that gets better with friends.
Here's my new dress. What's that?
Oh, Damp Rid.
Damp Rid? Damp Rid. It gets rid of musty odors,
How?
Damp Rid attracts and traps excess moisture.
eliminating the source of musty odors.
Mustiness, gone.
Come on. Take one. All right.
Imagine a visibly healthier pet in 28 days. Purina One, natural ingredients in powerful combinations for radiant coats, sparkling eyes. Purina One, one visibly healthy pet. Try these Purina One True Instinct formulas for dogs.
Life's kind of unpredictable. Like when your groceries arrive the moment you remember everything you forgot. Or when your kid says, "There's a big sweat school tomorrow." Tomorrow? Or when you discover art charcuterie is a thing you have to try, like now. Or when you could go to the store, but you also need to walk the dog, pack the lunches, and, oh yeah, take the kids to school. You have children! For anything today brings, fresh groceries and more, free same-day delivery. Walmart Plus.
You founded your kayak company because you love the ocean, not spreadsheets. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Indeed Instant Match instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description. Visit Indeed.com/hire.
I'm the talk of the town. I know you're feeling it now. Come on and move to the sound. And keep it going, and turn it up loud. I got a good feeling. Yeah.
Transitions, light under control.
Starting at the tip of my toes. Feel it in my head and my clothes.
Transition Signature Gen 8. Available now in 4 vibrant style colors. Transitions.
What up? I'm Sean's brain.
And when he's hungry, I wander.
And there's only one way to get me back again. Hot Pockets.
Harness the cheesy, meaty, hunger-slaying power of Hot Pockets.
Hot Pockets.
It's a fact. No other news network out there is trusted more than the Weather Channel. And America doesn't trust hurricane season to just anyone.
Hi, folks. Joe Namath here with a new message about your Medicare benefits. You may be entitled to transportation, meals, and expanded coverage for dental work that includes extractions, fillings, and dentures, all at no additional cost. Plus, depending on your zip code, you may be entitled to the Medicare benefit that adds money to your Social Security check every single month. Call and get everything you deserve. Call now. It's free.
I'm on a fixed income, so I called to get money added to my Social Security check. They helped me so much.
I called to save money on copays, get prescriptions, transportation, and my dental work covered. I couldn't believe I was spending money I don't have to spend.
Millions of people have trusted the Medicare Coverage Helpline, and you can too. Call now. It's free.
Call 1-800-975-4570. That's 1-800-975-4570 now.
You can't stop a force of nature. This hurricane season, rely on one of your own. It's a fact. No other news network out there is trusted more than the Weather Channel.
This is epic.
Trusted to give you every advantage before the storm. Trusted to be there, where and when you need us. Trusted to work around the clock until every threat is over.
We're in this for the long haul.
Because America doesn't trust hurricane season to just anyone.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you may not know that New York City now has been put under a tropical storm watch. That's what the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center is, that tropical storm conditions could be reaching the city. So folks here need to be preparing. They could have some water level rise impacts. They may have some power outages. Those are the types of things that you need to be prepared for. So a lot going on. So we want to give you the latest with Tropical Storm Henri, which is barely a tropical storm, actually a very strong tropical storm with maximum winds at 70 miles per hour. It is forecast to become a hurricane later on tonight or early tomorrow. 70-mile-per-hour winds. That pressure has been kind of holding steady the last couple of hours, but now we're getting more of that northerly pull. Winds were northwest, and now they're north-northwest, and we expect that trend to continue for tonight as well. We've had a lot of changes with the watches and the warnings, so we've got some updates on those as well. So we've got some warnings now in effect for much of Long Island as well as the southern coast of Connecticut. Here's a zoomed-in version of that cone, and you can see how this system just really slows down, unfortunately, upon approach. And I really think in addition to the surge problems as well as wind problems, we're likely going to have a lot of rainfall. And keep in mind, we've just recently had Tropical Storm Fred move across this region. So we want to bring in meteorologist Mike Bettis. Mike, I know you've been tracking all of this. Massachusetts, especially in the parts of the Northeast, were hit really hard yesterday.
The thing about it is, their ground is really saturated right now. We can't underestimate the threats, what they'll be with Henri. This week, Fred brought some really drenching rain. It triggered a flash flood emergency in places like Haywood County, North Carolina. Then it just moved north after that. 4 people died in a flash flood event here. 5 people still unaccounted for. And so you roll that thing north, and it goes right into New England, right? And it became a rainmaker there as well. That's because it combined with kind of another system, and it just flooded us over and over and over again. This is Thursday in Boston. They haven't had really a chance to dry out. Flash flooding could be a big concern for us here. Folks were like chasing their trash in the recycling bins and everything else, right? What an absolute mess. But what this means is we're kind of predisposed at this point for flooding because we had so much recently this week. So what we're showing you here is a map that has a lot of colors on it, right? Northeast, all these colors correlate to a specific, I'm going to try to get that back there, a specific amount of water that we've seen, okay? And so ultimately, there are some spots here in New England, Connecticut, Massachusetts, where we've had some big-time rain here, folks. 3 to 5 inches of rain has come our way. Now you see where the cone and the track comes. Center comes right like this, which means you're going to get absolutely soaked with rain again. So, Dr. Nab, when it comes to the flood threat here, I feel like we're definitely going to see a repeat of what we just saw with Fred, and if the slow motion has anything to do with it, it could be even worse.
I fear it probably will be worse overall. Now, it won't necessarily be that the same places that flooded with Fred will flood again and flood worse. It could be a different spot, but I think overall the flood risk is greater in this situation. Fred was what was left of a tropical storm, and it was moving along. This slow motion is extremely, extremely concerning. So one way to answer the question is, well, what category is this going to be when it gets to New England? Well, it could be a strong tropical storm or a Cat 1 hurricane. Got hurricane warnings up. But you can also think of it as category slow. Really, really slow motion, just inching along at 3, 4, 5 miles an hour. Now, when the tropical storm force winds arrive, that's about when the rain will be heavy and will start. But you'll have some peripheral rains, tomorrow night into Sunday morning, but it won't be nearly as bad as will start happening on Sunday night into Monday. And I would be surprised if this risk doesn't expand and maybe go up. Could we be looking at a high risk day from WPC somewhere along the line Sunday or Monday? That's a possibility. This doesn't even look into daytime Monday night, when the rainfall problem will still be ongoing because Henri will not have completely departed yet. And The rainfall totals that are forecast by the global models are highly track dependent, and what structure the model puts in there won't necessarily be exactly right, but it will show you some things that are possible. Not only do we have the possibility of heavy rains in the metro areas, but look at how far inland the Euro has flooding rains. In the GFS, which is a track a little farther to the east, goes inland quite a ways as well. So, Jackie, I am really concerned about what could be a big-time inland flooding problem, along with the possibility of that wet soil making trees easier to bring down.
Yes, this is a densely forested area. When we take a look at this map, Dr. Nab, you can really see how the coverage of trees is really dense in this area. So the ground is already saturated. On top of that, we've got more rain coming in as well. Most tree roots are somewhere between about 1.5 to 2 feet below the surface. So once that soil gets loose, it will take less wind than normal to topple the trees. So that means more power outages and damage.
Busted? Original Gorilla Glue, of course. Works indoor, works outdoor. It's weatherproof, it's waterproof. It's versatile and incredibly strong for the toughest jobs on planet Earth.
New projects means new project managers. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job, you immediately get your short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job criteria. Visit Indeed.com/hire and get started today.
What up? I'm Sean's brain.
And when he's hungry, I wander.
And there's only one way to get me back again. Hot Pockets.
Harness the cheesy, meaty, hunger-slaying power of Hot Pockets.
Hot Pockets.
When you order carry-out, choose Domino's Carside Delivery. Check in when you arrive, and we guarantee we'll be headed out the door less than 2 minutes after your order is ready. If anything slows us down, your next pizza is free. Choose Domino's Carside Delivery and put our new 2-minute guarantee to the test.
Is there a natural litter that actually works?
At Tidy Cats, litterventions come naturally. Naturally strong unscented with activated charcoal or scented clean lemongrass with plant extracts. 100% natural, 100% powerful. There's a Tidy Cats for that.
The Bissell Crosswave Cordless Max lets you vacuum and wash your floors at the same time. Dry messes, wet messes. It even freshens area rugs.
And when you buy Bissell, you help save homeless pets.
To learn more, go to BissellCrosswave.com.
I was born 4th of July. Grew some wings and learned to fly. Got a wind on my back just like I like. I said simplify, simplify. Don't know where to go.
Ready to simplify life with diabetes? Get started today with a free 30-day Omnipod DASH trial. Go to omnipod.com/free for risk information, instructions for use, and free trial terms and conditions. Consult your healthcare provider before starting on Omnipod. Simplify diabetes. Simplify life. Omnipod.
Sam. Welcome to the back of your mind. This is where we learn how to eat with Noom. Noom. Noom's all about eating wisdom. Limitless eating wisdom. Cool.
Sign up for Noom and lose the weight for good.
Welcome back to the DIFY show, the show where others do it for you. Today we're going to DIFY a broken sewer line.
The first step is to have HomeServe in place.
HomeServe will do it for you with home repair plans starting at just $7.99 a month.
The next step, we're going to roll these bocce balls towards that smaller ball.
Oh, good roll.
Did you feel that? That must have felt great.
And that's how you DIFY a broken sewer line. That's our show today.
Let HomeServe do it for you with plans starting at just $7.99 a month. Go to homeserve.com or call now.
Our house seemed like a dream come true. Great character, great neighborhood.
Until Mrs. Cashman started feeding the neighborhood cats.
All the cats. We need to move right now.
With Rocket Mortgage, we can adjust our home loan options in real time.
Customize our monthly payment, down payment, and closing costs.
Please.
And no cats.
It was a catastrophe.
Just no.
When you need control over your home loan, Rocket can.
The Weather Channel and its innovative climate team at Pattern are connecting you every day to the most fascinating stories impacting our planet. Rely on the climate experts with the most trusted name in TV news. If it's out there, it's in here. The Weather Channel.
The most populous city in America now in the bullseye for tropical storm impacts thanks to Henri. Now, the first time the Weather Service in New York has issued a hurricane warning in a decade. The last time they did that was from Irene in August of 2011. So New York City now under a tropical storm watch. There's also a storm surge watch in effect for the Bronx and for northern parts of Queens. All right, the time to get prepared is now. Welcome back to Weather Underground. I'm meteorologist Jackie Jarris.
I'm meteorologist Mike Bettis. A lot to cover for you here, folks, as we watch what's going on here with Henri. Could it strengthen the hurricane? That's the forecast, so it's going to get stronger, we believe, before it eventually moves straight for the northeast here. Long Island could be affected, right through New England as well, and yes, New York City as well. Take a look, by the way. Since Irene, this was 2011. This was a decade ago. And last time we had a direct landfall from a hurricane was Bob back in 1991. You can see that places, you know, there's a very colorful map, right? So a lot of tropical storm watches, warnings, hurricane watches and warnings out there. But again, the last time that we saw that warning issued by the Weather Service there was Irene in August of 2011. Dr. Knabb, correct me if I'm wrong, that was your first stint here at the Weather Channel, right?
Oh, yes.
And now here we go again.
Yes, yeah, during Hurricane Irene, I was definitely here at the Weather Channel. And one thing that we didn't have to show on the air during Irene was storm surge watches and warnings and forecast values for storm surge flooding. We've got that this time, and a good thing because we've got storm surge warnings in addition to hurricane warnings. Henri, not quite yet a hurricane, but that will change, if not tonight, tomorrow, because the conditions are getting more and more conducive. It's just poised to strengthen as it's making that turn, north-northwest motion now, and that will be moving toward generally the north over the next couple of days, and that really warm water tonight, tomorrow night, before it crosses the north wall of the Gulf Stream, it could get stronger than that 85 miles an hour. Intensity forecasts are not perfect, and if the conditions get just right, and it looks like they will for about a day and a half, it could get pretty strong. Now, it will weaken before it makes landfall, but it will be really close to that tropical storm hurricane threshold. The explicit forecast from the Hurricane Center has it right at that hurricane threshold at landfall. It doesn't guarantee that's what will happen, but it could be a little weaker, a little stronger, but strong tropical storm, Cat 1 hurricane, not a whole lot of difference. And then that slow motion after landfall will spend a couple days near or over New England. But we got to get ready by Sunday morning, because that's when the winds of tropical storm force and the heavy rains will start. So that's why we're in the warning phase, about 36 hours out. And so tonight and tomorrow are really critical prep times, and then it'll move inland from there. So here's where the hurricane warnings are in effect. It includes eastern two-thirds of Long Island, and there's tropical storm watches for New York City. The hurricane watch, it goes all the way out to the Cape, and look at the chances of tropical storm force winds in New York City. It's right around 50-50. So could that go to tropical storm warning later? That's a distinct possibility, Jackie.
All right, heads up on that for sure for New York City. Well, with millions of people now potentially in harm's way, we want to get you caught up to speed with what we know. In Massachusetts, the governor is asking residents to avoid travel this weekend, especially around the Cape and the islands. The National Guard in Massachusetts is on standby for high water rescues, debris clearing, and public safety support. All state campgrounds, pools, and coastal beaches in Massachusetts are closed through at least Sunday. Now, the governor is telling everyone to stay home here, and if you have plans to be at the Cape, delay it. The Weather Channel's Mike Seidel is live in West Dennis, Massachusetts, where they're getting ready for a storm that they haven't really seen in decades. Mike, what's the latest there? People pretty aware and concerned there?
They're very aware, they're concerned, but they're happy to see that the track has shifted west over the past 36 hours. And as Mike Bettis mentioned, Bob was really the last real impactful storm here. In fact, the hotel we were staying at here had about 7 feet of water coming right up under the building. Let me show you what they were doing today. Storm preps, getting the boats out of the water. Not everybody, but this bunch of guys pulled the boat out just around the corner at the West Dennis Harbor Yacht Club. So they're getting the boats out of the water with good measure, but not everybody is pulling their boat out like this gentleman.
Well, since the storm is going to go in around Newport, Rhode Island, we're planning on leaving the boat in and we're going to tie down the lines, put more lines on her, more fenders, and we're going to weather out the storm. But if the track changes, we'll be pulling the boat either tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon.
This is the time to do the storm preps tonight and tomorrow, especially coastal Long Island, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and here in the Cape. More coverage around the clock from the Weather Channel.
You want to make pizza night with the family even better? Bam! Get yourself the new Parmesan crusted papadilla. It's like a golden, crispy little fireworks show in your mouth. Get a new Parmesan crusted papadilla for only $7. Papa John's.
Allergies with nasal congestion overwhelming you? Breathe more freely with powerful Claritin D. Claritin D improves nasal airflow 2 times more than the leading allergy spray at hour 1. Claritin D. Get more airflow.
Ugh, is there a natural litter that actually works?
At Tidy Cats, litterventions come naturally. Naturally strong unscented with activated charcoal or scented clean lemongrass with plant extracts. 100% natural, 100% powerful. There's a Tidy Cats for that.
Tums versus mozzarella stick.
When heartburn hits, fight back fast with Tums Chewy Bites. Fast heartburn relief in every bite. Crunchy outside, chewy inside. Tums Chewy Bites.
Think of what peanuts have given humanity. Fuel for vast migrations, sustenance for mountaineering expeditions and long journeys across the world. But most importantly, they give us something to eat when we drink beer. Planters, a nut above.
Our strength, our power, our purpose starts within. So let's start there, with collagen that supports our body from the inside out.
At Napa, we keep things moving. If it has wheels and an engine, we help keep it on the road. And if it's on the road, we have parts for it. And if you need a part, you can get it fast. At Napa, when we're not thinking about cars, we're thinking about the people who drive them. Because when it comes to serving you and our community, our motor never quits.
It took a while to get up here. We started out around 1959.
Then we took a hard left in East Africa.
A right at Baja.
A 180 in the empty quarter. And that 65-degree incline at Hell's Revenge.
A few million miles later, and voila. But we didn't do all that just to get here. We did it to give you a truck that'll take you anywhere. This is the new Nissan.
I've got moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now, there's Sky Rizzy.
Things are getting clearer. I feel free to bare my skin. Yeah, that's all me. Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin. That's my new plan. Nothing is everything.
Achieve clearer skin with Sky Rizzy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clearer skin at 4 months. Of those, nearly 9 out of 10 sustained it through 1 year. And Sky Rizzy is 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
I see nothing in a different way. It's my moment, so I just gotta say, nothing is everything.
Skyrizi may increase your risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or coughs, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Nothing is everything.
Now is the time to ask your dermatologist about Sky Rizzy.
Named the world's most accurate forecaster, the Weather Channel.
Welcome back, everyone, as we follow Henri for you tonight, taking aim at the Northeast. We have hurricane warnings have been posted. New York City is now in the forecast cone as well. 70-mile-per-hour tropical storm. We're anticipating this becoming a hurricane. Could happen as soon as this evening. 290 miles south-southeast of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Likely to bypass the Carolinas here in the mid-Atlantic coast and go right for the Northeast. It looks like all the steering currents are pushing in that direction, but we've got a pretty well-formed system at this point. There's a look at the zoomed-in cone, and you follow down the center point of that cone. It comes right through Long Island, right through Hartford, takes a bit of a right hook here, but it slows down along the way. So once it gets in to, say, Long Island, The slow movement now poses a lot of issues here. Prolonged exposure to wind, prolonged exposure to storm surge, prolonged exposure to everything, truly, including the very heavy rain. But if you notice here, by Sunday afternoon, evening, still a 75-mile-per-hour Category 1 hurricane. Could it be a hurricane at landfall? Not ruling that out at all. Once it interacts with land, it should begin to weaken. The unfortunate thing is we could be dealing with this, may not even emerge off the coast of Maine here until Tuesday, which would mean we would be in this for 3 days. Jackie, it's hard to understand what could happen over the course of 3 days with slow movement and a really heavy rainmaker here.
Yeah, with that 5 o'clock advisory, things really got real, I think, for a whole lot of folks. And that includes all of you right here in the nation's most populous city in America. There we see New York City. You've got the clouds right now, but fairly calm conditions. You're under a tropical storm watch. This is the first time in a decade since you've been under some of these tropical alerts. So it's been a while since people have had to prepare for this. We want to bring in our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb. And Dr. Knabb, you know, they get water level rise in New York City. They're surrounded by water here. On top of that, we could be talking about really heavy rainfall for the city and, of course, some strong winds. Yeah, and I want to urge everybody in the New York City area not to tune out on this and say, okay, tropical storm watch, it means that we might get some tropical storm winds. I'm not that concerned about it. That could change. That could go to tropical storm warning. And oh, by the way, you are right on the edge of the storm surge watch. That could shift to the west as well. So, you know, being in the cone or out of the cone isn't as important as what watch or warning you're under and what conditions you could expect. And also, that bend to the left means that you are also in an area that could get some very heavy rain and flooding. So look at the tropical storm watch goes here over to the New York City area, and the hurricane warning is only a little bit to your east. If there are any further changes to the left, that could change. You got to at least allow for that possibility. And also, look at how far west that storm surge watch goes. It doesn't quite include LaGuardia Airport, but that could change. Tonight and tomorrow, you've got to stay tuned to us to see what changes to the forecast there are. And oh, by the way, even though you're not under the storm surge watch, we still could get 1 to 3 feet of storm surge flooding above normally dry ground, including the possibility of that happening up into the New York City area. Now look at these wind speed probabilities. In New York City, your chances have been going up. So here's 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, greater than 50-50 shot of sustained winds of tropical storm force. And New York City is a complex area. This is just what the sustained winds could be at ground in a normal kind of exposure. But you got to consider, you got high rises there, and when the winds start on Sunday morning, they could be stronger in some parts of New York City because of the wind funneling between the buildings. And Mike and Jackie, you know, when you go up 25, 30 stories, you're buying yourself a lot stronger winds. Say it's a Cat 1 hurricane at the ground, you get Cat 2 hurricane up in the high rise. So if you get tropical storm, even low-end tropical storm at the ground in New York City, you could be talking strong tropical storm several stories up.
Yeah, I think, Dr. Knabb, a lot about what threat could it cause to people that live in New York, but I also think about what about just the general inconveniences that it caused, because with the heavy rain that's coming in, we've seen it play out time and time again. The subways that everybody uses fill up with water. They're unusable. We could have some significant power outages in New York as well.
Yeah, there could be power and maybe water outages depending on how bad of a wind event you have. So imagine being wherever it is you live and you're stuck there with maybe there be some debris out there and the power's out and you're essentially stuck inside your home where you live. I would not be sheltering near windows in those upper floors of the high rise. I would make sure I have supplies to get through not just the storm that could last a couple days because it's going to be a slow mover, but the aftermath, and be thinking about looking in on your elderly friends and family members, because if there's a power outage, they might need extra help. And Jackie, they might need to be near medical care. So we got to take tonight and tomorrow to plan in places like New York City, because it's a complex environment where the winds could be a little stronger and flooding in urban areas is a big risk.
Yeah, and anybody who has plans to visit New York City this weekend needs to change their plans as well. Of course, we're going to get back to our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb, and talk more about these impacts. But right now, we want to head out to Mike Seidel in Massachusetts.
Hey, Jackie, Cape Cod under a hurricane watch and a storm surge watch. This water is going to be a lot choppier come late tomorrow night and Sunday. Continuing coverage and crews spread out across southern New England.
Think premium can't be capable? Think again. Introducing the first ever AT4 lineup. Premium and capable. That's professional grade from GMC.
This month, protect your ride with great oil deals at Napa. Get a jug of Napa Full Synthetic for $18.99. Or get $10 back when you buy a jug of Mobil 1 for $27.99. When it comes to finding you great deals, our motor never quits.
When you order carry-out, choose Domino's Carside Delivery. Check in when you arrive, and we guarantee we'll be headed out the door less than 2 minutes after your order is ready. If anything slows us down, your next pizza is free. Put Domino's new 2-minute guarantee to the test.
Visible is wireless that doesn't play games. No surprise fees, legit unlimited data for as little as $25 a month. And the best part, it's powered by Verizon. But it gets crazier. Bring a friend every month and get every month for $5. Which is why I brought them. 2 $5 months right here. Hey. Plus the players of my squad. Then finally, my whole live stream. Boom. 12 months of $5 wireless.
Visible. Unlimited data as low as $25 a month. Or bring a friend and you both get a month for $5. Wireless, it gets better with friends.
Spicy chicken nugs. We didn't say Wendy's, but you probably thought Wendy's. And you thought right. But you probably didn't think they'd be free with any purchase through the Wendy's app.
She's eating the rocket.
Lunchables, built to be eaten.
You probably think Visa is a credit card company, huh? But it's actually a network. Connecting just about everyone to just about everyone else. It can open eyes with a cup of coffee and change minds about what makes a business a business. And it is working to connect everyone, everywhere. So, meet Visa, a network working for everyone.
Hi, I'm Jimmy J.J. Walker. If you're on Medicare, listen to this. I called the 1-800 number to see what extra Medicare benefits I could get. An actual person answered, looked up my zip code, and boom, I was offered extra benefits like dental coverage, including dentures, extractions, fillings, plus prescriptions, transportation, meals, and so much more, all at no additional cost. And then I asked about the benefit that adds money to my Social Security check. And get this, I'm entitled to an extra $100 a month. That's $1,200 a year added to my Social Security check. And I was like, dynamite. Call the 1-800 number on the screen and see what you may be entitled to. Call now. It's free.
Call 1-800-217-5017. That's 1-800-217-5017 now.
The Weather Channel and its innovative climate team at Pattern are connecting you every day to the most fascinating stories impacting our planet. Rely on the climate experts with the most trusted name in TV news. If it's out there, it's in here. The Weather Channel.
Welcome back to the Cape, Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel. Sun going down 7:33 tonight. Boy, the days are getting shorter up here and across the northern hemisphere. This is the Atlantic. It's pretty calm right now. That's going to change in a big way tomorrow night and Sunday as Henri, whether it's a hurricane or tropical storm, likely stays to our west. We're going to be farther east, but we're going to be on the dirty side of the storm. Means we're going to have an issue with surge. We have a storm surge watch for the South Shore here, up to 3 to 5 feet of storm surge. And there is a hurricane watch for all of Cape Cod, a hurricane watch. There will be some rain, but I'm thinking at this point, if you're worried about flooding, flash flooding, and heavy rainfall, it's not going to be so much here on the Cape, Dr. Nab. It's going to be in western and central Massachusetts. And remember, they just had flash flooding in some of those areas just the past couple of days from the remnants of Fred. But down here, based on the current track, we're not going to get nearly the amount of rain they're going to get to the west and farther inland.
Yeah, that's if that track exactly holds. And Mike, I know you've been talking to some folks, and they feel, it seems like they're conveying to you that they feel comfortable that the track has shifted to the west. But I'm real concerned about like the south-facing shore, Barnstable and Falmouth and Buzzards Bay. I mean, they're under hurricane watch, but they're also under a storm surge warning. And the onshore flow, like you said, the dirty side, that guy who's got the boat and people who might be thinking of riding it out if they're told to evacuate, I'm really concerned about those folks because they're going to be on that stronger onshore flow side.
Yeah, the storm surge forecast right now, 3 to 5 feet, is higher here.
Yeah.
And like you said, down towards coastal Rhode Island than it is in Long Island Sound, parts of coastal Connecticut, albeit 2 to 4 feet. So, yeah, we still have the surge is a big concern here. But with this current track forecast, hurricane force winds seem unlikely. They're going to be more relegated to Long Island, coastal Connecticut, and maybe Rhode Island in gusts.
Yeah, and then what we got to do is convince people that tropical storm force winds are bad and can take out the power and take down trees, even if it's not hurricane. So let's break all this down.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's break all this down and show you where you live, what hazards we're concerned about. And again, the track of the center, that's what the cone shows. It's probably going to be within there, but we can't. Number one, we can't take it to the bank that it's going to go down right down the center. And the center of circulation for what's going to be a large hurricane and then tropical storm, the center of circulation isn't the only center of action. You could be getting life-threatening wind and water at the coast and inland, even if the center doesn't go very close to you. And again, we're talking to get ready by Sunday morning. That's when the tropical storm force winds and the heavy rain will start. And again, hurricane watch, the chances, yes, are less out here than in the hurricane warning, but they're not zero. And there's also, if you've got a hurricane watch, that could be changed to tropical storm warning later if it doesn't go to hurricane warning. Very high chance of tropical storm conditions out on the Cape and the islands. So it's not just about where the track is going to go. Look at that. I mean, if you are anywhere in the state of Massachusetts, you've got a greater than 50-50 shot of getting sustained winds of tropical storm force. And now about the storm surge warning. You've got Narragansett Bay, Buzzards Bay, Falmouth, and Barnstable. These areas are under a storm surge warning. That is the danger of life-threatening saltwater flooding. So got to pay attention to what the local officials are telling you to do. Evacuate if told to do so. You don't want to leave cars and boats. If this is going to be the onshore flow side, so they're going to have not just storm surge, but damaging waves. So you really got to be thinking about getting your boat to a safe place. And you got tonight and tomorrow to do that. And look at the storm surge forecast, like Mike and I were just talking about. The highest storm surge forecast values. This is storm surge flooding above normally dry ground. The highest values are expected somewhere in that area east of the track. So if you're in that area and you're vulnerable to storm surge and waves, you don't want to be happy that the track of the center of the cone is over to your west, because that puts you in the greatest chances of getting the life-threatening storm surge and the damaging waves. But that possibility goes far to the west as well. This is incorporating all the uncertainty in track intensity and size. And just to show you that it's not all about where the center goes, look at the size of this circulation on Sunday morning as it's coming ashore, if the GFS is exactly right, and look at how much of you all the way out to the Cape are on that strong side, and the circulation circulation goes all the way into New York City and beyond. So, Jackie, we got to treat this as the big beast that it's going to be, not just a track online on a map.
Yeah, and there's so much information to get through tonight, so make sure you stay with us as our live coverage of Henri continues next. We're going to break down the threats, what you need to do now to prepare for the storm, and why falling trees is a huge concern. Plus, we've got severe storms rumbling across the Midwest tonight. We'll have a look at who could see tornadoes. We've got watches that are in effect. We'll break that down.
Band practice, soccer, whatever that is, Nathan is working on. Nobody has time to cook, but the big dinner box from Pizza Hut is the answer. 2 pizzas, wings, breadsticks. It's the easy way to feed the whole family in one box.
No one outpieces the Hut.
A lot of snacks are packed with air, but not Planters nuts. Our dry roasted peanuts have an incredible ratio of size to substance. A delicious, salty, crunchy ratio. Planters, a nut above.
Is there a natural litter that actually works?
At Tidy Cats, litterventions come naturally. Naturally strong unscented with activated charcoal or scented clean lemongrass with plant extracts. 100% natural, 100% powerful. There's a Tidy Cats for that.
When we feel supported from within, our confidence to take on the world outside comes from way deeper. It's within us.
The Subaru Forester. Dog tested, dog approved.
Attention, the makers of Roundup have set aside over $10 billion for victims of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
If you or a loved one were diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma after using Roundup, call right now. One phone call is all it takes to get started.
Call us right now. You may be entitled to substantial compensation.
Call now, and in less than 2 minutes, you may find out if you qualify.
Call 1-800-690-2929. That's 1-800-690-2929.
Let's go, Peloton! Welcome to your 30-minute full body strength. Yes, you can, Peloton. Come on. Nice work, Lisa and Denver. Keep it up. Way to show up, Peloton. Amazing work. You absolutely crushed it.
It can be easy to steal your identity. Now, it can be just as easy to help protect yourself. LifeLock helps detect identity threats. If there's a problem, we work to fix it. Go to lifelock.com.
And Doug.
Oh, are you using Liberty Mutual's coverage customizer tool?
Sorry?
Well, since you asked, it finds discounts and policy recommendations, so you only pay for what you need. Limo, you're an animal! Who's got the bird legs now?
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Tonight on Weather Underground, Henri takes aim at the Northeast. New York City, Hartford, Providence, Boston, all in harm's way, with Henri strengthening and set to strike this weekend. And everything is on the table. Huge waves, storm surge, intense winds that'll bring down trees and knock out power, and flooding rain that will put neighborhoods underwater. And all these things could happen well outside of where Henri makes landfall. We'll detail what you can expect and when.
As Henri nears, the time to prepare is now. We're going to show you the steps that you can take to help protect you, your family, and your property. Plus, severe storms are also ripping across the Midwest right now. See the spots where damaging winds, large hail will all have you hunkering down tonight. It's all coming up next on Weather Underground.
Oh, we've got so much to cover for you tonight with the latest advisory. We have hurricane warnings now and storm surge warnings in effect for the Northeast. New York City now in the forecast cone. Thanks for being with us for extended coverage of Henri. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Jackie Jarris. We want to get right to our hurricane expert and former director of the National Hurricane Center, Dr. Rick Knapp. Dr. Knapp, I'm sure a lot of new viewers are joining us right now, and there's so much to get through with that newest advisory.
Yeah, and I want to remind everybody that not only are the forecasters and the director and folks at the Hurricane Center putting out these advisories, as soon as they hit the button on that advisory, you know what they're doing right after that, and they're probably continuing to do right now, is they are briefing emergency managers, the FEMA Hurricane Liaison Team, and probably even briefing the White House. So this is a all-hands-on-deck communication effort down there at the Hurricane Center, and their forecasts are just part of what they do. And on this latest advisory, they set the maximum winds at 70 miles an hour. Not yet quite a hurricane, but their forecast continues to call for strengthening tonight and tomorrow night as it gets under weak wind shear and moves over very warm waters until it leaves the north wall of the Gulf Stream. And after that, it's not just going to go away, but it will become a slower moving, larger system, even though it'll weaken a little bit. Their latest forecast has it right at that hurricane tropical storm threshold as it's coming ashore Sunday afternoon. So that's why we've got the hurricane warnings up. And you notice how slow that motion is after it gets to northeast. It's like it moves along, and then when it gets to the northeast, it loses its oomph in terms of forward motion. It hangs around for a couple of days. Once the winds of tropical storm force and the heavy rain start on Sunday morning, then we're going to be dealing with this for a couple of days up in New England. So we've got to prepare tonight and tomorrow and go to bed tomorrow night in your safe place with your supplies ready to deal with it as it arrives Sunday morning, because we got to get through the storm and the aftermath and the power outages and all of that. Hurricane warnings now up for the eastern two-thirds of Long Island, a good portion of the coastline of Connecticut. Hurricane watches go all the way eastward to Cape Cod and the islands, and New York City under a tropical storm watch, portions of western Long Island under a tropical storm warning. So a lot of you at risk for damaging, dangerous winds that we got to prepare for. And it's not just at the immediate coastline. Look at how far inland in New England the risk of tropical storm force goes. So we got to deal with not just coastal impacts and a non-zero chance of hurricane force winds out on the Cape, even getting close to New York City. So possibility of the changes to those watches and warnings. The other big thing that changed at 5 p.m., storm surge warning from just east of New York City, all of Long Island Sound from the rest of their east side of the southern facing shores of Long Island, and those storm surge warnings go all the way through Narragansett Bay, Buzzards Bay, south-facing shores of Cape Cod, where we could have the greatest storm surge flooding. So we got a day and a half to prepare, Jackie, and we got to take everybody through hazard by hazard and what they can do about it.
Yeah, it's not a lot of time. And, you know, it's been a while since people on the Northeast coast have had to prepare for a hurricane or tropical storm. And they're now under watches and warnings as Henri makes the turn farther up towards the north. Now, the Weather Channel's Mike Seidel is live in West Dennis, Massachusetts. And, Mike, this latest forecast has it a little off towards your west, which puts you in better shape overall. But still, on the dirty side of the storm, real concerned about storm surge there.
Yeah, I think the number one concern right now is storm surge, because we're going to get a surge expected of 3 to 5 feet. You can see where we're standing here. That's the Atlantic looking almost due south, and we're not more than 5 or 6 feet above the sea level, the water level right now. So that is a concern here. One thing is for sure, though, it has shifted west, so that lowers our winds, and it also lowers the amount of rainfall. No rain today, not expecting any rain tomorrow. Look at the beautiful day we had today on the Cape. This area out here, the whole Cape is packed. It's high season. August schools in the Northeast don't start until at least the day after Labor Day, so everybody's out here vacationing in the water. By the way, water temps here are mid-70s, and we're talking about the cooler water. Yeah, 75, 76, not bad. I can handle, a lot of people can handle that, but we're not talking 80 or 85 like in the Gulf Stream. So that's why we think that's going to start to weaken Henri before it makes landfall, at least a little bit. Meanwhile, the governor of Massachusetts, Charlie Baker, at the microphone today talking about the storm and what you should be doing.
And due to the current track of the hurricane, we're strongly recommending that all travelers delay any trips to the Cape and the islands, possibly until Monday when the storm moves out. Additionally, those currently visiting the Cape and Islands this week should consider leaving the Cape on Saturday or find a way to make plans to stay until Monday or Tuesday.
Good point there. Most people that are here are going to stay till Sunday. There are folks that have checked called into some of these hotels and said they're canceling their trip out here on Sunday. Sunday is going to be the worst day by far. Again, winds could gust 35 to 40 miles an hour based on the current track, Dr. Nab. And the storm surge is going to be the #1 issue at this point based on the current forecast track. But as we know, the models, they oscillate. We have the spaghetti with the lines all over the place. Right now, we're kind of zeroing in on Long Island and coastal Connecticut, but that could change in the next 36 hours.
Yeah, I agree. The biggest problem where you're standing is going to be the storm surge and the waves, and then tropical storm force winds, power outages, a distinct possibility even without hurricane force winds. Now, let's take a look at what the models are doing and help you understand what still could change and why this is going to be such a long duration event. Look at how slow the track forecast is after it gets to New England. That's one of the biggest problems here. And that is why so much of interior New England has a decent chance of tropical storm force winds, in addition to the tropical storm and hurricane warning areas, and still a greater than 50-50 shot out on the Cape of tropical storm conditions, as is the case in New York City. So a lot of you are going to get strong winds, and that is despite whatever changes happen in the exact track. So let's take a look at what the models are doing here. They're responding, and so is the storm, obviously, to this cutoff low over the eastern U.S. that's going to bring Henri north. It's already starting to feel the tug of that. And here is the latest GFS. The colors of the low-level spin of Henri, and here you see the big ridge that's going to stop the northward motion. Once it gets to New England, here's the trough that's bringing it to New England. And because of that configuration of the trough, it's going to kind of bend it into the coastline. So here we are in a couple of days. On Sunday, it's over New England. And then on Monday, it'll still be over New England, maybe even interior New England. So that spending a couple of days over New England is why it's going to lengthen the duration of the winds until finally Tuesday it's exiting. And that long stay over New England means heavy rainfall will really add up the totals. And also, as it weakens after leaving the Gulf Stream, it's going to get horizontally larger. So that makes the cone and the track of the center even less helpful to describing who's going to get what winds. And that's why Mike and I are talking about how tropical storm conditions are still a greater than 50-50 shot out on the Cape, because you're going to be on the right-hand side, the stronger side of a larger storm. So just because you're not where the center is going to go doesn't mean you couldn't get some of the strongest winds, even though the very strongest winds will probably be closer to the center with the hurricane force winds, but that size is going to expand the wind field from the Cape over to New York City possibly. And look at this size of a storm going slowly. Large and slow means a long duration of wind and surge, but Jackie, it also means a tremendous amount of rainfall. So I don't like the trends in the models. Yeah. Very slow and over New England for a couple of days.
Yeah, I don't like it either. The 5 o'clock advisory really, I think, helped put things into perspective, just how serious some of these threats are. Dr. Nab, let's talk more about individual threats, and we'll start with the wind. You mentioned the wind field expanding. You mentioned that it's going to be lingering here. Now, a little bit of good news is that maybe the winds will die down a little bit, even though it's lingering, because at least it's over land. But with an expansive wind field, I mean, we're talking the big cities getting in on power outages and perhaps trees down. So let's talk about how far out we need to be concerned about those wind threats.
Yeah, and the fact that it will be weakening as it approaches New England and stays over New England, that doesn't lessen a whole lot the risk of downed trees, power outages, very dangerous conditions outside, danger driving, because you remember, this is going to become a hurricane, a Cat 1, maybe even Cat 2 before it leaves the warm waters, and how strong it gets down here will have a lot to do with how strong it is up in here. But the Hurricane Center's forecasting it right near that tropical storm hurricane threshold as it's arriving in New England. And then yes, it will weaken, but then the wind field will expand, and tropical storm force winds sustained for a day or more. That really amps up the possibilities of downed trees and power outages, and trees coming down can take lives if you're not sheltering like you would for a tornado. So it's not just the hurricane warning area we're concerned about. The hurricane watch areas that could be converted either to hurricane or tropical storm warning, the tropical storm watch areas that could go to tropical storm warning. These are dangerous conditions, especially this time of year with fully leafed trees. And interior New England, not just the coastal areas and the big cities, at risk for damaging and power outage, taking strong tropical storm force winds. This is for sustained winds. And there's a non-zero chance of hurricane force winds, even out to the Cape, even over to the doorstep of New York City. So there could be changes to those watches and warnings. And we got to get ready by Sunday morning when those winds and the heavy rains start. And Mike, we got to take the time between now and Sunday morning to safely get through the storm and what could be a long, nasty aftermath without power.
100%, Dr. Nab. I mean, we have some tips here to help you survive the storm, making sure that you're ready, make sure your home is ready, to make sure you can get through this as painlessly as possible, right? So just think about protecting your home initially, all right? Cover your windows with shutters or plywood. Do not use tape. That's not going to help you at all. So you got to have something sturdy that's going to take the wind and maybe debris that flies towards it. Shelter like you would, say, for a tornado, where you're going to find the sturdiest part of your home to shelter in. For a lot of you, that can be the first floor of your home inside an interior room. You know, set up almost like a picnic for the kids, or blankets and pillows and stuff like that, flashlights, everything you need ready in one solid place, away from windows, away from exterior walls, where you feel like you're in a safe spot. Also, don't stay in a mobile home. It's a very unsafe shelter for you to be in. Mobile home is not sturdy. It does not have really good sound structure to it. And don't stay on upper floors of maybe a high-rise. So this is, we're talking about a very populated place here in the Northeast. New York, a lot of people live in high-rises. The higher up you go, the higher the winds will be. And you want to stay away from those windows. And consider leaving any unsafe structure that you might be in. You know, if you're out here maybe doing some camping, you're going to be doing, you know, you've got like the motorhome or the RV. Those are not safe places to be. So you'll want to evacuate, or you want to find another sturdy shelter. Now, if you lose power, which is very possible here, do not operate a generator indoors. Outdoors only, with the exhaust pointed away from your home. Do not use candles or anything with an open flame. Stay away from downed power lines at least 30 feet away. If they're live, call 911 and have a plan to power your life-sustaining medical equipment. And we certainly know that another big threat from Henri is going to be the water conditions, and that can include places like, you know, Atlantic City. Yeah, we could be, you know, on the western side of a big swells could come our way, however, big rip currents could come our way, erosion at the beaches here. Dr. Nab, let's talk now the water here, the surge, the swells, the rip currents. What are the dangers?
Well, the whole East Coast is going to feel it, at least with the high risk of rip currents and rough surf, all the way down to Florida as this passes by. But the farther north you get, the greater chance you have of really high waves, and eventually up here in New England, the storm surge. With a hurricane and a tropical storm affecting this area, there's no doubt we're going to have storm surge and waves. Storm surge warning means the danger of life-threatening saltwater flooding anywhere from just east of New York City, most of Long Island Sound, eastern half of the southern shore of Long Island, and you're talking Narragansett Bay, Buzzards Bay, Falmouth, Barnstable, the whole south-facing Cape Cod area, and the Sound there. And how much water are we talking about? The highest waters actually be to the east of the track, because that's where the onshore flow is going to be. 3 to 5 feet of saltwater flooding above normally dry ground is expected somewhere in that area. 2 to 4 feet in much of Long Island, both the Sound and the Atlantic side. Even 1 to 3 feet on the Jersey Shore is expected somewhere in that area, getting up into the New York City area. And there will be really, really high, crushing waves, especially on that eastern side. And I want to show you why this is going to be such a storm surge producer. And oh, by the way, while we're showing that, on the Delmarva and Jersey Shore on Saturday, before the weather gets really bad farther north, that hurricane's going to be right offshore. The waves and the rip current and the surf risk will be terrifically high, even though the weather might be good to lull you to go to the beach. But then when you get this large system, even though it might be weakening, this is going to be a storm surge and wave producer, pushing it into the Sound and into those areas east of track. Jackie?
Well, as New England prepares for the first direct hit from a hurricane in 30 years, you probably have some questions, and we are here to answer them. Send them to us on Facebook or Twitter. Be sure to include the hashtag Hurricane Questions, and we're going to answer them for you right here during our show tonight. Stay with us.
Oh no.
I think they look good, man. Smooth.
They are a little tight.
Like, too tight? Might just need to break them in a little bit because you don't want them too loose.
For those who were born to ride, there's Progressive.
True.
With 24/7 roadside assistance.
Okay. Think I'm gonna wear these home.
Excellent choice.
If you have a typical airline credit card, you're not getting double miles on every purchase.
You're right. I only get extra miles on some types of purchases.
May I?
Please.
With the Capital One Venture Card, you earn unlimited double miles everywhere. Yes.
Everywhere is great, but where can we use them?
You can use them on any travel purchase, not just some travel purchases.
The Venture gets a gold star.
What's in your wallet?
That's a joke.
Do not repeat that to anyone, right?
You're gonna fight.
Do not repeat that to anyone.
The video calling device designed to bring people closer. Share something real. Portal from Facebook.
It's my 405. The show must go on. Migraine medicine. It's Ubrelvy for any time, anywhere migraine strikes without worrying if it's too late or where I am. One dose can quickly stop my migraine in its tracks within 2 hours.
Unlike older medicines, Ubrelvy is a pill that directly blocks CGRP protein, believed to be a cause of migraine. Do not take with strong CYP3A4 inhibitors. Most common side effects were nausea and tiredness.
Ask about Ubrelvy, the anytime, anywhere migraine medicine.
Visible is wireless that doesn't play games. No surprise fees, legit unlimited data for as little as $25 a month. And the best part, it's powered by Verizon. But it gets crazier. Bring a friend every month and get every month for $5. Which is why I brought them. 2 $5 months right here.
Hey.
Plus the players of my squad. Then finally, my whole live stream. Boom. 12 months of $5 wireless.
Visible. Unlimited data as low as $25 a month. Or bring a friend and you both get a month for $5. Wireless, it gets better with friends.
Think premium can't be capable? Think again. Introducing the first ever AT4 lineup. Premium and capable. That's professional grade from GMC.
It's a fact. No other news network out there is trusted more than the Weather Channel. And America doesn't trust hurricane season to just anyone.
Hi, folks. Joe Namath here with a new message about your Medicare benefits. You may be entitled to transportation, meals, and expanded coverage for dental work that includes extractions, fillings, and dentures, all at no additional cost. Plus, depending on your zip code, you may be entitled to the Medicare benefit that adds money to your Social Security check every single month. Call and get everything you deserve. Call now. It's free.
I'm on a fixed income, so I called to get money added to my Social Security check. They helped me so much.
I called to save money on copays, get prescriptions, transportation, and my dental work covered. I couldn't believe I was spending money I don't have to spend.
Millions of people have trusted the Medicare Coverage Helpline, and you can too. Call now. It's free.
Call 1-800-975-4570. That's 1-800-975-4570 now.
Evacuate immediately.
Oh no! Go, go! Oh.
All eyes on the latest with Tropical Storm Henri, set to become a hurricane likely later tonight or tomorrow. You're looking live at New York City. And New York, if you're just joining us, you may not have heard that you were just put under a tropical storm watch now. This happened about an hour or so ago. And the Bronx, northern Queens, you are under storm surge watches as well. So what this tells us is that track has shifted a little farther off towards the west. You are going to get in on some of those expansive, damaging winds, potentially also have some heavy rainfall impacts and perhaps that surge. So here's the latest right now on Tropical Storm Henri, packing winds around 70 miles per hour. Keep in mind, it only has to go up to 74 for this to be a hurricane, so we're not too far off of that already. This is moving now in more of a north-northwesterly direction. It had been moving northwest, and now we're starting to see that pull farther to the north, keeping us solidly in the impact zone with a direct hit, likely on Long Island or perhaps into southern parts of New England. Here's a look at where the tropical storm warnings and hurricane warnings and watches have been issued now. So it's about the eastern two-thirds of Long Island for the hurricane warning, as well as the coast of Connecticut. And then we've got watches outside of that, including you across the Massachusetts coastline, all the way extending out towards the Cape. Here's the latest cone. So if you haven't joined us since this morning, this is an adjustment. This is a little bit of a shift. And there you can see it is expected to move in farther off towards the west. Now, it still could come in either side of that center line. So don't focus on the center line because impacts will be felt far outside of that cone. And then notice kind of that little light bulb shape or that bulb shape down the line. What that tells us is that this is going to be slowing down. This is going to be a problem, especially with all of the rainfall across this area. So, Mike, you know, we just had Fred go through this area, unfortunately, saturating the ground. And with more rain on the way, it's not good news for some folks here.
It really is, and Jackie, we really cannot underestimate the threats that come with Henri. You know, when we had Fred that came through, it just drenched the eastern half of the country and really had big issues down in North Carolina here in Haywood County. 4 people died in the flash flood, and the 5 people are still unaccounted for. And then Fred moved from here, where it just triggered awful flash flooding, up into Connecticut, where we had flash flooding here. This is West Hartford. The remnants of the storm at this point dumped about 3.5 inches of rain on Thursday alone. Now Henri is taking aim at the same areas and potentially producing even more rain. So what we thought we'd do is give you a detailed picture of how Fred set the stage for Henri, unfortunately, and may make Henri even worse. So the map that you see here is a map of the northeast United States. A lot of the green is rain less than 3 inches, but a lot of yellow on this map indicating 3 to 5 inches of rain. Orange indicates 5 or more. And then we've overlaid the track of Henri, and really a heavy swath of rain happened between, say, Hartford, Worcester, and Boston. So the ground's really soaked right now. And if you follow that center track, you see where it ends up going, all right? So Sunday evening, Monday morning, Monday evening, Tuesday morning. So we've got a long duration rain event here, Dr. Knapp, on top of already really soaked ground. This is a really bad scenario.
It is. Now, one big lesson that we learned that you just helped everybody understand is that tropical moisture with complex terrain in like North Carolina and up in Massachusetts, bad mix. And we could have some of that going on in interior New England. Now, this is just for Sunday night into Monday morning. This risk could expand and could be upgraded and will likely last into Monday night, and Tuesday. Look at how many of you are at risk for flash flooding, not just at the coast, but going inland as well. The latest Euro model is very concerning for New York and western Massachusetts, Vermont and New Hampshire. I mean, this is not just going to be a coastal event. Why does New York really light up with heavy rainfall from the Euro model? I'll show you that in a little bit. GFS is a little bit farther east with the heaviest rain, but look how far inland that risk goes. And let's take a look at that Euro model. Watch what happens after it comes to the coastline. Then is you go to Sunday night and Monday morning, look at how far inland it's going. That's that left turn that a lot of the models have been talking about, and it hangs out there until late Monday. It isn't until Tuesday that it finally starts to move to the east. So, Jackie, in the mountainous areas with a lot of trees and a slow-moving large tropical storm, we could be talking about a big-time inland flood event.
The long duration of that rain, Dr. Nab, is just really, really concerning. Thank you so much for the update there. Coming up, Henri. It could become the first hurricane to make landfall in New England in 30 years since Hurricane Bob. So, coming up, a refresher course on what you need to do now before the storm arrives. And be sure to stay with the Weather Channel for our live team coverage of Henri. Don't forget, you can download our app on your TV. Our coverage is available on Roku, Fire Stick, and your smart TV. Also, stick around. We're answering your hurricane questions live on the show straight ahead.
Imagine a visibly healthier pet in 28 days. Purina One, natural ingredients in powerful combinations. For radiant coats, sparkling eyes. Purina One, one visibly healthy pet. Try these Purina One True Instinct formulas for dogs.
I was born the 4th of July. Grew some wings and learned to fly. Got a wind on my back just like I like. I said simplify.
Ready to simplify life with diabetes? Omnipod Dash users pay on average under $50 a month through a pharmacy. Get started with a free 30-day trial. Go to omnipod.com/free for risk information, instructions for use, and free trial terms and conditions. Consult your healthcare provider before starting on Omnipod. Simplify diabetes. Simplify life. Omnipod.
Return to rugged, the all-new ruggedly redesigned 2022 Nissan Pathfinder.
You have the best pizza in town and the worst wait times.
Table 4 up.
You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Indeed Instant Match instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description. Visit Indeed.com/hire.
I'm a member of American Home Shield, which means this faucet may be freaking out